What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Movies That Make You podcast. Season 2 is in full gear, and so we are super excited for what we got going on this season. Just to let you know what that means, we still have our weekly Prepisodes where we discuss movies to watch in preparation for a new release hitting theaters. I got my buddy POPpaGoss on those each and every week. Those drop on Mondays at 6 a.m. Also, we have our Creators Conversations. This is where we're interviewing people from the business and beyond to discuss what they do to create and how they create their art. So be on the lookout for that on YouTube. We're also doing our monthly watch-alongs where we pick a movie to watch. We live stream our conversation while we're watching the film on YouTube. This week, we are back to our Star Wars month with the live action shows with Scott Raymond and Chris Valentin as we discuss all of the Disney Plus shows in preparation for The Mandalorian and Grogu hitting theaters Friday. We hope you also check out our website at moviesthatmakeyoupodcast.com. There you can see all of our social links. You can listen to the podcast. You can watch the podcast. We also have our merch store. You can find tons of merch for Movies That Make You and our friends. We also have a link to our letterbox where you can see all the movies that we watch in preparation for the new releases, but also the movies that make you laugh, the movies that make you cry, the movies that make you scream, and everything in between. So before we get to this week's episode, let's check out what we got coming up on the Movies That Make You podcast. Tomorrow night, you do not want to miss it. We are doing an epic live stream in preparation for Texas Frightmare happening this weekend. We're going to have myself, POPpaGoss, the Horror Green Book, the Horror Cat Dad, Spooky Okie, Laser Wagon, and Wilkie's Movies and Music. It's going to be an epic discussion on horror cons, and we're going to be watching Scream from 1996. It's going to be a blast. Next week, we're finishing out our Star Wars month by talking about all the video games. So this will be the Gaming Galaxy featuring Scott Raymond and Chris Valentin back for one final episode of our Star Wars month to celebrate this great franchise. The week after that, we're going to be talking about 80s cartoons that were turned into live action movies, all in preparation for Masters of the Universe hitting theaters that Friday. We've got two special guests that are going to be on the episode, Cross Save Collectibles and Frog Pop Fanatic, both first-time guests. We have such a fun conversation with them around these movies. We're excited to share it with you. And on Friday, June 5th at 2 p.m., we've got our creator conversation with Michael Levy. He is a producer, actor, director, and he's produced such films as Screamboat, The Pitchfork Retreat, Stream, Terrifier 2 and 3, as well as being a part of the new movie dropping that same day, Scary Movie 6. The week after that, we've got Spielberg Invasion. We're going to be welcoming our first-time guest, Papa Not Working. We're going to be talking about Spielberg movies with aliens in them, all in preparation for Disclosure Day, dropping in theaters that Friday. The week after that, we've got the Toy Saga, featuring Wes Clark, writer and director of How to Start a Cult in 5 Easy Steps. We're going to be talking about all the prior Toy Story movies, all in preparation for Toy Story 5 hitting theaters that Friday. Hope those episodes excite you. So without further ado, let's get to the podcast. We are back with another episode of the Movies That Make You podcast. I am Sprang, and I got my co-host here, POPpaGoss. What is up, my brother?
Hey, buddy.
Good to see you again. And
Yes,
we are talking Star Wars again. Mandalorian Grogu comes out this Friday night, and so we've brought back Scott and Chris to continue our conversation about Star Wars television. What's up, guys?
What's up?
How we doing?
welcome back.
Yes, good stuff. It's crazy. You were wearing that same shirt 2 weeks ago. Good stuff. Good stuff. So 2 weeks ago, if you didn't check it out, go check it out. We had these guys on and we talked all things animated in the Star Wars universe. Really had some great conversation there, some tips, some tricks, some really cool stories that we got to talk about. This week, we are talking about the live action stories because this is basically Mandalorian Grogu is pretty much feels like a series finale for a lot of these. I know we might get other series, but it's a season finale if it's anything for some of these live action shows that they've been doing on Disney Plus. So we're going to talk through all of the series that we have seen on Disney Plus and kind of dive into them, characters and things like that. So we already kind of gave our Star Wars origins. We've already talked about our animated. So let's just jump right into the shows. The first one that we got that was kind of blowing everybody's minds when it was first announced was The Mandalorian. At one point, we thought maybe it might be a Boba Fett show because there was rumors about a Boba Fett movie that then kind of got tabled and then it ends up not happening. And so they decided, Jon Favreau comes in, says, let's do Mandalorian. And they brought in Dave Filoni, who also helped tremendously, was showrunner and creator of a lot of the animated shows. They brought him in, Jon Favreau and him together, formed this incredible group of directors to basically put through this first season of Mandalorian. It also introduced to the volume, which is how they created a lot of the visual effects in the show to make it kind of a little bit of like live action plus some CG video backgrounds. It was the first kind of time we've seen that, and it was a way for them to keep this show looking big, but also budget small. So lots of cool stuff in the Mandalorian. Let's just jump into it. Scott, let's start with you. What are some of your big things that you liked or didn't like about Mandalorian?
It kind of goes both ways. My one point that I really want to talk about here, it took a long time for us to learn Grogu's name. So for the longest time, it was just Baby Yoda because we, and this is where it goes both ways. I both like that they were touching on the species that Yoda is, but I hate that still after all this time, we don't know what species or what planet they come from. And you have this, or now maybe it'll come up in the movie, but we have this pretty big character as of recent that we know nothing about. Nothing. And then Yoda being the big character that he was throughout the original 6 movies. And he shows up in The Last Jedi as a ghost. And we have this character that has existed now for 50 years that we know nothing about. Lives until he's 970 years old, and that's it. They're green and short, and they have pointed ears. That's all we know. So I like that we're touching on that, but I hate that we still know nothing.
Gotcha. I will say this. I think I have a theory, and I don't think it's actually legit, but I know that first season, I had a theory in my head that he may have been a clone of Yoda, that the Emperor had taken his DNA somehow and developed him. I feel like the timeline works because he's not a baby. Like he looks small, but he's not. He's not a baby. They actually tell us in the show at one point, kind of
I think
when he was born,
he's
how old.
40.
Yeah, and so that timeline would match up for the kind of the Emperor's kind of rise to power, and if they had any of the blood from the Jedi in the temple at that time, like I could see the Emperor doing that because, of course, he cloned himself, right? That's
He
how we got.
clearly had the technology by the
Yeah,
end of Revenge of the Sith.
yeah,
Not Revenge of the
exactly.
Sith, Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. So, so that might happen. I doubt at this point that they're going to go that route because that's a pretty big swing to just throw on people. But in the first season, I thought perhaps this could be it.
And they'd be doing it again.
Right, right. Another clone of a original trilogy character. Yeah,
Yep.
for sure. I did, first season we get, well, the Mandalorian is interesting character we've talked about a little bit. They kind of, we've talked about the Mandalorians in the animated series, and we got no lore in those stories that the Mando is like not supposed to take off their helmet, right? And so that
They
was a
take their
big
helmet off all the time.
all the time, right? And so this is like, what's going on? And so through the series, we figure out, oh, this is a very strict religious. This is one of the tribes that's like super religious, and they won't take their helmet off in front of other people. That's just this one tribe of Mandalorians, and he's a part of that. He grew up in that, but he wasn't actually born Mandalorian. He was adopted into the Mandalorian tribe, that was this strict and religious. I think it's also just a way to have someone like Pedro Pascal be the Mandalorian and only have to pay him for one day of work, right? Because he's only shows his face in the finale of the first season. But he's the voice, and it's it's a great voice, and it's a great character. I think it's at least 2 or 3 different people that play Mandalorian. There's one guy that does the walking, there's one guy that does the stunt work, and then of course it's Pedro Pascal when he takes the helmet off. And actually, the guy that does the stunt work, I believe, is John Wayne's descendant. So that's kind of a cool connection to movie history. But yeah, we get Grogu. First season, we get kind of that. We get This Is the Way. We get the armor that he's trying to find this metal so that he can get the armor. He's got one plate in the opening episode, and then he gets more so he can build his Mandalorian armor that is indestructible, which is, I think, a really cool vibe too. Chris, how about you? What's something from the Mandalorian series that just like stands out to you?
Definitely, I think what's it called? I think one of my things that I liked the most about it was like the true aspect of like the bounty hunter work of it. Like we actually saw him going out and like doing tasks and like, collecting bounties on people, and obviously the infamous line, "I can bring you in warm or I can bring you in cold." Um like Scott, like I think one thing like Scott said about like Grogu is like we don't really know anything about it. And then in the movie we probably still won't know anything about it. Who knows until it comes out. And then I think when it's like, was it mid season 2 or season 3 where they start like getting to the aspect of like trying to like reclaim Mandalore, and like they're just trying to rebuild Mandalorian as a society. He's doing all that. I was like, well, how did we go from this to this? I was like, how did we start off as doing regular bounty hunter work, just making your everyday as like a infamous person. Now it's like I'm competing for the Darksaber and I'm gonna reclaim and lead Mandalore. That was one of my things. But I didn't totally hate it, but I was just like, I wasn't too big of a fan. But like I think the first season was definitely my favorite. I think I think everything throughout that first season was beautifully kicked off, and as you're just going down the line of people, and obviously the introduction to Grogu. I think one of my favorite moments is like when the scout troopers have Grogu and like he bites his finger, he just like full on sandbags him, and he's in the little pouch. I was like, this is like some dumb fun that I like seeing.
Yeah. And I think it was, who was it that was in one of those? He played Ted Lasso.
Jason Sudeikis.
Yes,
Sudeikis?
he was
That's
one
how
of
you
those.
pronounce his
He
last
was one
name?
of the troopers, yeah.
Yeah, that he's the one
Yeah.
that punched.
Because he
Grogu
got
in
a
the
bunch
back.
of flack online because everybody was he came out on an interview and he's like, well, everybody's mad at me because I hit Baby
Baby
Yoda.
So great, so great. What about you, Josh? Anything stand out about Mandalorian?
Well, the biggest thing is Mandalorian season 1 was like the first time my wife ever was interested in anything Star Wars related. Like she didn't
Same.
grow up watching the movies or anything. And then when we met, she knew that I like Star Wars a lot. And she sat down and watched the first episode with me and she was hooked. Mainly big thanks to, Grogu and stuff. But she liked just the special effects and the music. I mean, the score by Ludwig
Yeah.
Göransson is so awesome, and I just like kind of how it's not comic booky, but like there's like really nice artwork for the intro. And it's just a cool. I mean, like from the start, it's just a cool kind of piggybacking off what can't remember if Chris or Scott said it, but the whole like bounty hunter like aspect we got a main focus on that, and it just has like weird actors that make appearances as characters that I think in the first episode the blue character that is the main focus is like what's that guy from Saturday Night Live, not
Oh yeah. I know who you're talking
Horatio
about.
Sands. Yeah,
Yeah.
so, like, Horatio Sands, who I grew up he's hilarious, but, like, I kept watching and I'm like, "Is that her?" And then I looked it up, and I was like, "That is such an odd casting choice." Brian Posehn, the comedian, like, out of left field, he's, like, a small character, I think, and also in the first or second episode. Um, and, are we talking about Mandalorian as a whole right now or just the first
Sure.
season?
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
well, because the thing for me that I love about especially season 1 and season 2 are the people who like they gave chances to direct episodes because they had some heavy hitters that are I think really important to film. Um, we had like Bryce Dallas Howard directed a couple episodes, and obviously she's a good actress, but she's the son of Ron Howard or the daughter of Ron Howard, so it's like she has probably been around film, and that's really cool that she got to be a part of that. Season 2, one of my favorite episodes, was directed by Robert Rodriguez, who I love. and that was the huge reveal of bringing back Boba Fett, and
Mhm.
just in such an epic fashion. Like, I think that episode is so much fun. I remember getting so giddy when the don't cancel us, but the Slave One, God forbid I say the Slave One ship, came flying in. And I got so I remember Jess was like, "What's going on?" Because I was so excited, and she had no idea what I was talking about. But like that episode was so cool, and then obviously, we piggybacked into Book of Boba Fett, which wasn't as strong. We'll talk about that in a second, but yeah, I just think it's, as a cinephile, like, I think it's cool they gave multiple people chances to direct episodes and kind of do their own take. And even Carl Weathers, who was an actor
Mhm.
in before he passed, like he was on that show, and he directed an episode in season 2. So I just think it's really cool. They kind of had all people's point of view working on the show, but the score is awesome. It got my wife interested in Star Wars a little bit, and then just the whole character as a whole. I think there was some awesome scenes that we got to see, especially in season 1, kind of building this character, and we got to revisit old, scenes and planets that we hadn't seen in a while. And they were done like season 1. We get to see a lot of like Tatooine and like the
Mhm.
Jawas and all that,
Yeah. Yeah.
lore. I thought that was really cool. So very fun. So just a fun show. I season 3 I know wasn't as strong as seasons 1 and 2, but still had some cool stuff. So, and then
For
obviously
sure.
season 2, that finale of season 2 with I know I watch replays of people watching that end scene when Luke comes in, and it is so epic. It's so cool, and it was just really fun. I know it was mostly fan service, but it was worth every second that I watched it. So
Yeah. That was an epic scene. And I think the actors didn't even know. They thought it may have been Plo Koon, I think is what somebody said. But I don't know if that's
yeah,
true or not because he may have been shown being killed in Revenge of the Sith.
He was.
I think that they thought it was somebody else. I think Katie Sackhoff said, "Why didn't you tell me?" She was so mad that he didn't tell her that it was going to be Luke Skywalker. But yeah. So I think for me, the first season was a real good standalone for the most part. It's a standalone Mando show. We've got the droid that he has to convert into being on his side, who's also kind of a throwback to the droid that killed his family. Like, there's some cool backstory there. It's a good standalone show, episode, seasons, whatever. Season 2, it's like, all right, Mandalorian was a hit. Dave Filoni, bring in all the guns, right? Like, so Dave Filoni starts bringing in, of course, at the end of season 1, we get the Darksaber introduced. And then season 2, we get Katie Sackhoff introduced as Bo-Katan. For one of the episodes, we get Boba Fett introduced. We get, he start playing in the world a little bit more. And then, of course, at the end of season 2, we get the reveal Luke Skywalker is going to take Grogu to go train as a Jedi because he's force sensitive. And then in another series, we find out that that's not really what he wants to do. So Mando gets Grogu back, and then we're back to season 3, which has more integration with Bo-Katan in that. So we get to dive into the the Mandalore stuff that we've seen in the animated series. We get more live action. Anything else? Season 2, season 3, Scott? Anything else stand out story wise?
I mean, Chris already touched on the split between it was about the Mandalorian with Grogu, and then it turned into this Darksaber fight for Mandalore and power. But I do really like how season 1 ended with the Darksaber and Moff Gideon, played by Giancarlo Esposito. And
Yes.
then season 2, we had the hallway scene with Luke. That was really cool. Season 3, I don't even remember what the big finale of season 3 was.
But we got Ahsoka more in season 3, I think.
Okay.
There's more Bo-Katan in season 3. But yeah, I'm not sure.
I think the perfect segue to the next show of Book of Boba Fett, is how the show pivoted and became this Boba Fett shows up in 4 of the episodes. And then we had the Book of Boba Fett where Mandalorian shows up in 4 of the episodes. I mean,
Yeah.
it really was just season
2.5.
2.5.
Yeah.
And then they had to get back to their roots. And I guess that's what made them decide that we're going the Bo-Katan route and going back to Mandalore.
What's it called? The thing in where it's like season 2 and 3 where Luke takes Grogu. One of my biggest gripes with that thing was while he was training him, we hear Luke talking to Ahsoka saying like he needs to pick between like Mandalorian and like being a Jedi. It's like that's not what Luke stands for. Like Luke is supposed to be the epitome of like you can do what's right. Like you can always do what's right and in your heart, and you can always do anything that you want to do and follow what you want to follow. The whole reason Luke is because he didn't necessarily follow all those principles that the Jedi had. So when he was talking about that, I was like, And I don't know if you guys ever played like Star Wars Battlefront 2, like the campaign story mode. If you ever did, you would know that like that version of Luke is like the best like graphic that like probably that some people would argue that like we've ever seen for like Luke as a character. And so when that scene was transpiring, he was talking to Grogu and like Ahsoka about like how he needs to pick one or the other and like leave it in the dust.
Forgo attachments.
Yeah, I was like that's not Luke.
That's not
like
Luke.
that's not what he stands for.
Definitely interesting for me because you think about someone like Dave Filoni, who's so wrapped up around this story, to kind of do something a little bit different, a little bit outside. But again, I think the video games at that point weren't considered canon in his mind, so maybe he's, young Luke is still trying to hold to the Jedi Order in some way. Who knows?
And also, video games are supposed to be a different episode, Chris.
Yeah, we'll definitely will do that at some point for sure, because Scott is itching to talk about Darth Revan, I'm sure. So
Revan Nihilus.
Yeah, I was looking up a little bit of season 3. We get a lot of Mandalore. We get that beast that's a mythological beast that nobody believes is real. Mando finds it. I probably will go back and rewatch it before Mandalorian Grogu comes out, just to kind of see where I'm at, remind myself where I'm at in the story. But again, Mandalorian really became, after that first season, it became a launching point for some of these other characters, and then we go to those shows. One thing before we jump to Boba Fett, actually, I want to mention this. I think up until Mandalorian, the Star Wars eras were siloed. You have the prequel era, and you have the visuals of the original trilogy, and they didn't really cross. You didn't have a crossover. Mandalorian, in the first few frames of the show, and a continuing theme throughout the show of Mandalorian, is the combination of prequel era visuals and original trilogy visuals in a way that just looks so epic, in my opinion. It's the droids that we see from the prequels, but they're beat up and ragged like they are in the original trilogy. You've got the stormtrooper helmets all destroyed, and even the stormtroopers we see in the first season that are all like rugged and ragged, their armor's beat up. You got the helmets being on spikes. There's so much of the combination, and I think that's what they kind of continued in the Mandalorian series, is Filoni and Favreau showing love for the prequel visuals and kind of combining it with the original trilogy visuals, and I thought that was really, really cool. I didn't want to move past that without commenting on that, but really, really cool visually. But we do get Fennec Shand joining Boba Fett at the end of that episode, that he's introduced as the King. It looks like King Boba Fett. He's going to rule the underworld of Tatooine, and then we get the Book of Boba Fett series following that. Chris, why don't you start us off? What's some of the standout moments or things that you liked or didn't like about the Book of Boba Fett?
For Book of Boba Fett, when I watched the whole thing, I watched it with my mom. She's also pretty big into Star Wars. I think when we both like finished the finale, I think it was it episode 7? We were like we were saying earlier, it felt like it started off as like Boba Fett for like 3 episodes, and it was basically just him like trying to get his armor back, and then like figure things out, and then it just turns into Mandalorian season 2.5. I wish one of my biggest things is like I wish there was more of a dive onto like how he was in like as like a bounty hunter, because we get like glimpses of that throughout the movies, but we never really see like a full on like action like sequence on how he does like bounty hunter work like we saw when Mandalorian throughout the first season. I think one of my favorite things was like seeing like the Sarlacc pit, like when he climbed out of that and like how he survived that. I thought that was a good way. I was like, they didn't just leave that like as a question mark, but it's like, oh well, he got eaten, so how does he come back? But outside of that, I didn't like hate the show, but I was just like, I mean, I enjoyed it, but I definitely felt like there were like a good few areas where I was like, this could have been better, that could have been like toned off. But overall, I think it was just a good show.
Yeah. Scott, how about you?
I hate to say it, but I think my favorite part of the show actually had nothing to do with the show.
Okay.
I loved the book, the book of Boba Fett and how he survived the Sarlacc pit. And when Disney bought Star Wars, it was retconned and it didn't matter anymore. Boba Fett was gone. And Dave Filoni has worked really hard to bring that all back in bits and pieces. And seeing Boba Fett again and having his story expanded upon to meet the expectations of what he was in Legends is cool, because honestly, if you know everything about Boba Fett and then none of it matters and you only have what you got in the movies, he has 6 minutes of screen time. And he's a fan favorite character for a good reason. He has really cool armor, but he didn't do anything. His only line of dialogue is when he fell into the Sarlacc pit. The Wilhelm scream there.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
that's not even him. I mean,
I know.
so it's cool to have a character expanded on. And the finale, the big battle over whatever little town on Tatooine, it was cool. I enjoyed watching it. But the fact that the show turned into a Mandalorian season 2.5 does take it down a notch for me.
Was it in season 3 or was it Boba Fett where the Rancor pet Rancor was a big theme?
That was the finale of Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
He was like riding on top of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was pretty epic.
No, yeah. The final episode was cool.
Josh, how about you? Then I'll go.
Yeah, no, kind of agree with everything that was said so far. Like I've always been I think a lot of Star Wars fans just love Boba Fett, but Scott nailed it on the head. Like, he honestly doesn't do anything. I think he's just like the most badass character that they've created in the original trilogy, obviously. So, it's just cool. But I was excited. I thought it was funny that the how he escapes the pit was like Patton Oswalt had that huge thing. It was like a blooper reel on Parks and Rec, and he basically spoke it into existence like verbatim. And they just I think they did that for the fans because the fans just love that little spiel that he did. So
filibustering at a city council meeting with his theory on how it's so great.
I mean, super epic, but he doesn't just talk about Star Wars. It's like everything, Marvel and everything. So, but yeah, just the fact that, Boba Fett did escape. And then, I love, Tamura Morrison. I think he's I don't think he gets enough credit. And it was cool. Book of Boba Fett, I will say it was nice because, like, piggybacking off what I just said, that Scott was talking about, like he doesn't really do anything in the original trilogy. This was a way for him to have speaking parts. He takes his helmet off a lot. He's like an actual character and it's focused on him. But yeah, they did heavily make it pretty much a Mando season 2.5 because we have that. I would say the finale to that. The first episode was pretty strong. The last episode was awesome. It was just really fun. And then there was that episode like 3 in the series, I think, where it was pretty much focused all on Mandalorian, and it was an awesome episode. But like, we're like, I thought
This
this
is
was
the
a Book of Boba Fett
Yeah.
show, and you guys are just totally making it a Mandalorian show. So that part was a little kind of odd and frustrating, just because I wish they would have just stuck to, you know, what they had. I liked that Salacious B. Crumb came back. I was a little disappointed. I met Mark Dodson, who voiced him, and right before he passed away, and I was a little upset that they didn't bring him back to like voice him because he came back. But other than that, it was cool to see him like pop up out of nowhere because he's a silly character. But yeah, overall,
I have him over here in the drawer. I should I get him out?
Salacious B. Crumb.
Yeah.
Do it.
Give me
Yeah,
one second.
Do it.
bring
Grab
him
it.
out.
Do it. Yo, Scott, remind me to grab my picture frame so I can show them my photo with you and
Ewan McGregor.
I'm going to grab that.
Yeah, I definitely want to see that.
Oh, and
That's
I know that you.
Oh
you
wow,
have
he
the-
has the like the doll.
That is literally the full thing. Wow.
Holy cow! I have I don't know where I put it. I have the Funko Pop that's like Jabba the Hutt and Salacious B. Crumb, and I had Mark Dodson sign it when I met him. It's here somewhere, but yeah, that's awesome.
Speaking of Salacious B. Crumb,
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
So goofy.
it's
Such a silly character.
at Disney. When we went to Disney, they have them. You can get them, and they have like you have a handle you can squeeze and make him like move and open his mouth and stuff like he's sitting on your shoulder. And this one's broken, so a friend of mine got it in like the Disney Outcasts store for really cheap. So I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna play with him, so just having him sit on something would be kind of fun. So
Yeah, I was kind of heartbroken. I sat and talked to Mark Dodson about Return of the Jedi, and I was like, "Oh, like, did you get to go to set?" And he was like, "Nah, I'm a voice actor, so like, I just was in a studio. Like, I didn't get to see all the cool sets." And so I'm like, "Man, what a bummer."
right.
But still, that's pretty fun. But yeah, he was. I think he's heavily inspired because Mark Dodson was a voice in Gremlins 2, and I mean, if you look at Salacious B. Crumb, he's kind of gremlin-ish looking, so maybe that's where they got the inspiration. I'm not sure. That's cool though that you got that little side character back there on the shelf.
Yeah, pretty crazy. So one of the things I wanted to mention about Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian. Oh no, Book of Boba Fett. That's it. What I wanted to mention about Book of Boba Fett is how he gets his armor back. We get introduced to the armor because Timothy Oliphant has it on in this little like backwoods deserted town. But then we also get another character from the animated series that we didn't talk about when we were talking about Clone Wars, and that's Cad Bane. Cad Bane shows up.
The other blue guy.
The other
blue guy. The really cool, like straight out of a Clint Eastwood movie hat, wearing Cad Bane. And he was really cool in the animated series Clone Wars. And I think he actually had a pretty large take in the Tales of the Empire series, animated series as well, which we didn't mention in the last episode. But really cool to see him in live action in this one episode. I thought that was cool. I thought it was interesting that he had the armor, and then Tamora Morrison is able to get it from Timothy Oliphant for saving the town or whatever. And I think another thing to comment for me about Tamora Morrison and all of the legacy, actors, is that this is a very unique opportunity to have the revisit of these characters in the legitimate timeline of real life and the stories that they told, to where were able to take a real life guy that was the clone, and now he's aged to this point, and now he's playing the legitimate Boba Fett, just like he did in the Attack of the Clones. Is just kind of somewhat awe-inspiring to me, to give this opportunity once again. I thought the same thing about the sequel series when you've got Luke and Han and Leia playing same thing. 30 years in the future, we're now revisiting these characters for the continuation of the story, and they're playing the 30-year-old older version of themselves. But I did think that was a lot of fun to have them come back. Another character we didn't mention in Mandalorian was Cara Dune. I thought this is some of the best acting that she had done up to this point. I know she kind of got canceled for some of her comments, but I thought that her character was really interesting, and I thought it was a strong character. I think also in Mandalorian, the other thing that the Mandalorian does, again, kind of combining, maybe not just combining the different eras of visuals, but taking something that we recognize from the original trilogy and putting it in a different context. So that one episode when you had the walker that was just I don't remember what it's called, but it's the two-legged walker that we know from,
ATST.
yeah, that we know from the Battle of Endor. It's in this little town, and they're having to go save it. And I think that episode actually got a lot of flack because it was just another like Seven Samurai type storyline that I think actually I think it was Zack Snyder was going to try and do something like that in the Star Wars world, but they just kind of co-opted it for one episode of Mandalorian. But it's like they all kind of joined forces to fend off this thing that's attacking this town regularly. But back to Book of Boba Fett, I think some of that stuff was really cool. Kind of combining, the animated characters once again. Had this little one-officer character with Cad Bane coming through. Kind of Timothy Olyphant, who's a great actor, playing a cowboy in space was kind of cool. And then seeing the Boba Fett armor that we hadn't seen in a long time, and then him being able to wear that again, I thought that was cool. Yeah, that's all I got for Book of Boba Fett. Anything else before we move on?
More people have had Boba Fett's armor than himself, bro.
Right.
When I really think about that, like that guy in this like the desert hide in like little town, he got it jacked by like Jawas when he got out of the Sarlacc pit. Like
Yeah.
Boba Fett's entire journey is just him getting his armor. Like, I think that was one of my biggest things too. I was like, this guy is just nothing.
Yeah.
Rent
For
an
sure.
armor.
So one of the main characters that we talked about in the last episode from the animated series gets her own live action show series, and that is Ahsoka. We bring in a lot of the characters from the Rebels show. We get Hera, played by Amanda Winstead. We get Sabine. We get them going to try and find Ezra, which is what we saw at the very end of the Rebels show, the kind of the flash forward after Return of the Jedi. We get them saying, hey, we're going to go find him. So we're now picking up on that storyline. They end up finding him on this planet in the outer regions. And there's also Thrawn is there, and he's got power there, and he's trying to build these ships and stuff to try and get to kind of get back to the Empire, to the regular places, and try and take over, it seems. We also get an incredibly good Sith, played by, who's that guy's name?
The guy with the white
He
beard,
passed
right?
away. What's that?
They was the guy with the white beard.
Yeah.
Ray Stevenson, I think his name was.
Yes, good
Yeah.
call. So Ray Stevenson, that was just a really
Balin
great.
Skull.
That's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
But just really, really cool kind of villain there that's going after Ahsoka. I thought that we get some flashbacks with Anakin that were really cool. So Ahsoka series. Chris, share your thoughts.
I think like you just said, my favorite part of the series was the flashback with Anakin Hayden Christensen himself reprising his role once again. Like that whole sequence where he was like, I'm here to complete your training. Like seeing Sith Anakin in like live action where he's his normal self, but with the red lightsaber, I thought that was like great, and that really shows like the emotions that Ahsoka had to go through. It's like she watched her master fall to the side and she felt powerless to do anything about it. And now in her dreams of it, she has to confront him, and she feels powerless to do anything again. and like the scene where like he walks out and like he shuffles thing and like if the lights flash and like you see he's Vader and then he goes back to Anakin. I was like, this is some of like the best work that has also been put into a show. But it was great. Seeing Chopper in like live action was also great. Like I think they did a great job. One of my biggest things with like when they do live action is how will they adapt it from what the animation looked like to live action, because sometimes it can look really sloppy. I think they
Mhm.
did a phenomenal job with how everything looked visually and how they stood true to like who the characters were previously before like the show and everything like that.
Nice. What about you, Scott?
I really liked the parts where like Hu Yang, the robot that helped make all of the lightsabers, helped teach Yoda as a youngling. Like, I liked the inclusion of that character in the show in a live action setting because we only ever saw him in Clone Wars. Uh, I wasn't a huge fan of them giving Sabine force sensitivity.
Okay.
I mean, she had a lightsaber in Rebels, but now she's learning to be force sensitive 20 years later. I'm not saying it's not possible. I mean, but we've known this character. Some of us grew up with this character, and she didn't have any traits back then. So them just going and changing that, I wasn't a huge fan of.
Sure. That's fair. I felt like that it was kind of like what you were saying, Chris, seeing the animated characters in real live action. I feel like that they looked the part. I feel like that they felt like the real characters from the animated show just in live action. I know that some of the fight sequences got some flack online because it didn't feel as natural. Um, One of the guys I listened to commented that it could be the fact that we're so used to seeing these characters fight in animation, and that maybe those sequences would have worked in animation, but when
Yeah,
it's live action, it didn't. You know,
because you can
I
just get
thought that
away with so much more in animation.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, but they're kind of the finale, I guess, is they're trying to go get to Thrawn and try and stop him from leaving the system and getting back to the regular Star Wars areas. But I thought the other main villain, Shin Hati, I thought she was really good as far as just being she was the Padawan or the whatever you call the dark side Padawan of Skull. I thought she did great. And they have recast Skull for Ahsoka season 2. So we'll still see that character. But Ray Stevenson has passed since then. And I think for me, like the being able to pick up Ahsoka this far downstream when we saw her last, um, she had left the Jedi Order, and she had white, then Rebels, we see she has white lightsabers. So to see that in live action, that she's this kind of in between, she's not a Jedi, she's not a Sith, but um, she's still fighting for good of the world of the galaxy, but she's not committing to be a part of some order that's gonna um, kind of control her. She's her own person. I think the casting was great. I feel like she looked the part. She looked amazing as Ahsoka. And overall, I'm excited to kind of see where these characters go in the new movie and in the new seasons coming forward. How about you, Josh?
Yeah, I agree. The having Hayden come back, I mean, so epic. I would love to. I know he's been doing the con circuit for the last few years, and I just see videos all the time. And I'm like, man, he just seems like such a nice guy, and you can tell how much it means to him. And he kind of got done dirty when the movie, an original prequel trilogy came out. Not his fault. I mean, just he was early on in his career and he did the best that he could. And now people like they love Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith and stuff. So um, I thought that was cool. They brought him back and gave him like an epic showdown, with Ahsoka and just a cool scene. And then yeah, Chopper was awesome. And they Ray Stevenson, I love. I think he's a tremendous actor. It's sad that he passed away. They did recast him for season 2. Rory McCann, who played the Hound on Game of Thrones, he's actually going to play Balin Skull in the season 2. So they were really good friends in real life. So
That's
he
cool.
got his blessing before he passed away. So um, should be interesting. But yeah, Ahsoka looks really awesome. I mean, Rosario Dawson, I've been following her career for a long time, and it was kind of out of left field. Like, she's a big nerd deep at heart. So I think it meant a lot that she got this role, and it's kind of launched her career even further. Because she's kind of known for more comedic roles for the most part. And it's just cool to see the success, because she's another person who just is genuine and deserves a lot of credit for what she's done in her career. So I thought it was really cool. I really like how far special effects have come, especially with the lightsaber stuff, because we get to see, like, Ahsoka, they do a lot of the like um reflection of the lights on like her skin and her
Yeah.
face and her costume and stuff. And I think it just looks, just as like a, even like as a picture, it just looks so cool. So I thought they did a great job with Ahsoka. And I hope they don't veer off too much in season 2. Hopefully they can like stick to a cohesive script and everything, and make it work for the fans and for the Star Wars story as a whole. So
Absolutely. Any other thoughts, Chris, on Ahsoka?
You guys pretty much touched all the bases.
Cool. So that kind of finishes out, I think, the Mando and the kind of the spin-off from Mando series. One other series I think we want to spend some time on with live action is the Kenobi series. This one is kind of a standalone series, while it of course brings Anakin in as Darth Vader, gives Hayden Christensen his chance again to be Vader in the suit, and gives a chance for Ewan to come back and be Obi-Wan this many years later. Is really cool. Chris, why don't you take it away? Give us some of your thoughts on the Kenobi series.
I loved Kenobi. I definitely would say I think I had a little more like higher expectations from after when I watched it. I don't think it was bad, but I think there were a couple things that like went on throughout the episodes where I was like, is this really part of the story? Like, there was the scene with Leia and that whole dynamic. I was like, I thought the whole point of this was to split them up so you had literally no recollection, so they could not be found and harmed, and that way no way Anakin could come after them. And then they have a whole scene where they're like she's running through the floor. I'm not gonna get into that. I'm gonna crash out. I'm not gonna lie. That scene, I almost turned off the TV. I was like, I don't know if I can watch this. And then how he basically is going into hiding for all these years, and we learned that when you stop using the Force, like, you become weak with it, so you no longer like have like the prowess that you once did. So he has to then pick back up his like training essentially, so he can face Darth Vader and Anakin again. One thing I didn't like was like, this is supposed to be again like prime Vader. This is like he became Vader. Like, this is supposed to be him at his absolute peak, and he didn't use the Force for I don't know how many years over an extension of period of time, and all of a sudden he can now just go toe to toe with what is supposed to be like the strongest like being in that universe. And I was like, I I don't know, but yeah, I'm a Kenobi Glazer, so I mean, I guess I'll be fine with it. But like, but definitely overall, I definitely loved the show, and I think it was great. I just wish there were like a few more things they could have like did more involving with Kenobi. Like, it felt a little like Boba Fett, where we were focused on Kenobi, and then like in some episodes he was a side character in his own show.
Fair enough. Scott?
That fully embodies what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I mean,
There you go.
how many Star Wars TV shows do we have to have where the main character gets sidelined in their own show? But yeah, I agree with Obi-Wan was sent to Tatooine to watch over Luke, and the entire show is about him with Leia. It's
Okay.
It was just weird. It was just like, what?
Yeah. But let me tell you guys, I've seen what it is to like watch over a child. It's not fun television to just
yeah.
sit there and watch Luke for
Well, it's
7
not
episodes.
even
Like it's
watching over it. I mean, it's not even you are supervising him. It's you're
would be-
watching from a distance,
Yeah.
which is just
like,
weird.
it would have been like the first 10 minutes of the show for 7 episodes, 8 episodes, right? Him going to work,
Just set up a
cutting up
baby
a piece of
monitor
meat.
and go to work.
Literally,
Yeah.
just make sure he doesn't
That's not
die.
fun.
Call it a day.
Yeah, and so I understand that they felt like they needed to do something to get him off planet, right? And to go on a journey. I can understand that, but I also understand your gripes. I get it. I'm just trying to play a little bit playing the Sith advocate of of this. So yeah, and I enjoyed the show. I think of course the highlights of the show are the Obi-Wan and Vader fights. Like that's just really cool. I thought that the
Absolutely.
girl that played Leia was really, really good. And it was
Mhm.
cool to see Jimmy Smits come back and being able to play her adopted father. I thought that was another one of those cool things where these characters that they played when they were younger, they're coming back and playing them again. So
Return of Bail Organa and the return of, I don't remember the actor's name, but the guy that played Lars. He
Oh,
played
yeah.
Lars in Revenge
Yeah.
of the Sith
yeah,
with the handoff of Luke.
Mhm. Oh yeah. Joel Edgerton. Yep. Good call. Good call.
Owen Lars. Yeah.
Yeah.
Him coming back was really cool. The live action Inquisitors I really
Yes.
liked, even if it was just the one that always complained.
Yeah.
The
Reba
set-
Reba
Well, that was what
Sazander,
she was.
Yeah.
Was she second sister?
third
think she-
sister.
Third sister.
Third sister. That's
Yeah.
what it was. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I was going to mention that too. To have the Inquisitors in live action was cool.
the scene where Vader, like the ship's trying to take off and Vader just
Oh, yeah.
grabs it and pulls it back, or he was able to pull it back down, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. He grabbed it and he was holding it down, but then they just like went into like a sub ship and then flew out from that one. I think it was, and it was like, all right, whatever.
Okay. So he held the big ship, and the parallel of someone who's played the video games. I know I said this is another episode, but I am going to touch it. Star Killer
Yeah.
grabbing the Star Destroyer and just slamming it into the ground. Like that was a cool parallel. I wish Star Killer would ever show up in canon. And
Yeah.
now we have a chance with Kathleen Kennedy gone.
Well, and just another shout out
Hopefully.
to Sam Witwer, who that was his entry into the Star Wars universe, was him actually then using his likeness and his voice for Star Killer. And then he went on in the animated series to voice Darth Maul. He actually voiced the Emperor for a couple of episodes, but not all of them. And then they also got the actual person that played the Emperor, Ian McKellen, right? Ian McDermott.
Yeah,
Ian
Ian
McDermott.
McDermott.
They had him come back and do one of the episodes, I think, to voice the.
Can you imagine Ian McKellen as both Magneto and
Magneto and
Josh, how about you, buddy? What's some stuff that stood out to you about the Kenobi series?
I actually really enjoyed it. I mean, the middle part of this series is not it's not as enthralling. Like the first episode's kind of fun. We get to see a couple previous characters from like the at least like the prequel series. Obviously the duel in the final episode is beyond epic. It's so much fun. And just all the imagery, the score for that part, all that, like that was probably my favorite part. And then I actually really enjoyed Vivian Blair, who played the little Leia, like little
Yeah.
girl version of Leia. I thought she did a great job kind of capturing like the Carrie Fisher like mannerisms and stuff for being a little like a young actress. So I mean, she was a fun little. They threw her in there, which was cool. And then obviously what you guys were talking about, bringing Ian McGregor back. Like, I mean, you can't really do a Kenobi show without bringing him back. I don't think so. I know he was stoked to come back and kind of get a second shot at doing this again because he was kind of thrown in with Hayden with the hate for the prequels when they first came out, from diehard fans and stuff, and I think they've really appreciated and kind of accepted that like Ian and Hayden are such a huge part of the Star Wars universe, and I'm so happy that they brought them back. So it was fun. I had a blast. But yeah, my favorite part obviously was the battle sequence in the final episode. That was just so cool. I watched it a few times actually the the night I watched it, and then obviously the cameo at the very end. It was kind of a throw in, not very long, but with bringing Liam Neeson back to play Qui-Gon just real quick at the end. I thought that was a nice little nod because I don't think anybody expected they would get him to even make even a small cameo like that. So,
Right.
I thought that was cool. They brought him back just real quick for a little nod to Qui-Gon.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, my thoughts are I kind of agreeing with all of you. Had its strong moments, had its weak moments, but overall it was fun to see these characters again, and I felt like they did them justice for the most part. The one character I can't believe nobody talked about was Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers. Nobody wanted to mention that Flea was running after Princess Leia.
Yeah.
Such a big role for him. No, that was kind of crazy to see him in Star Wars. But obviously he's a fan because he wanted to be in it probably, and they gave him a chance to be in it. Um, I thought it was like you guys said, it was fun to see all these characters back, and I thought that the story was pretty good. Moving on, of course, it was rumored for a very long time to be a movie, and then they kind of changed and decided to make it into a TV show with the success of Mandalorian. They felt like they could flesh out. It seems they felt like they could flesh out the story a little more in the series, and I think they did a good job. Of course, it ends with him going back to what he's supposed to be doing, which is watching over Luke from afar. So, good stuff there. And that kind of leads us to our next show that we're going to talk about in depth, which is a show that was the first of the live action shows to be based off of a new era, a Disney era movie, and that is Andor. And Cassian Andor was one of the main characters in Star Wars Rogue One, which has touted as many people as being the best Disney Star Wars movie that exists, better than Force Awakens and the sequel trilogy, better than not Solo by a long shot. And so people wanted to kind of know more or kind of dive into that world a little bit more. Again, another chance to kind of combine the visuals of the original trilogy in areas that you didn't see them in before. I remember from Rogue One seeing the AT-ATs or the stormtroopers on a beach was a really cool visual. Just kind of having that juxtaposition that we're not used to seeing. We're used to seeing AT-ATs in the snow, and now we're seeing them in a beach, and I thought that was cool. Introduction of different trooper types that we hadn't really talked about in some of the other ones. Death Troopers, I think, were introduced in Rogue One, and then we see them later in the Mandalorian series as well. Andor, 2 seasons. First season is kind of the formation of his character and him kind of finally joining the rebellion. Season 2 is really fast paced. The last like year and a half to 2 years leading up to the events of Rogue One, where he and Mon Mothma are trying to figure out how to support the rebellion, how to make the changes, and still do so without being found out, and then at the end needing to bail and get out of there while we kick off the Rogue One. Also wanted to mention one of the actors in that is Skarsgård. Which Skarsgård is it?
Stellan.
Stellan Skarsgård.
Yeah.
Man, he's got one of those speeches, and he's one of those great characters in the first season. Plays it perfectly. He's like I am making these decisions so you can sleep at night. I have to make these bad decisions and make these calls to try and protect uh, the rebellion, protect everything. But he's playing this kind of anti-hero throughout. But you see his heart in that one scene within the where he's standing outside the elevator. Just really, really powerful. Scott, let's start with you. What's some things about Andor that stood out to you?
I love the universe building on a specific character, even though we know because we know the end. I do like how they were able to meticulously find an origin point to start this story to then have a second season that doesn't feel rushed. I mean, knowing the end point in time, if they said 2 years before that, we're starting season 1. Okay, well, then we have a 2-year gap for them to have season 1 and season 2. So I feel like they did that really well. Having Mon Mothma, having Saw Gerrera, played by Forrest Whitaker, having them all come back from Rogue One to play their part. And Saw Gerrera was another character from Clone Wars and Rebels that showed up multiple times. And his motivation to join the Rebel Alliance through the passing of his sister and everything else. I think it was all really well done. Our movie episode that we did was in preparation for season 2 of Andor. So we talked about Andor season 1. Season 2, it's just a lot to take in. I think it was all really well done.
Yeah, great call bringing up Saw Gerrera. That's another character, man. So many characters from the animated series that are just, it's so rich with all these characters, and to have them pop up in these other areas is just beautiful. Great call there. Josh, how about you go next? What's some thoughts about Andor?
Yes, Andor, I mean, obviously critical and huge ratings. Like, I mean, it's one of the highest rated, not just Star Wars, like one of the highest rated shows ever. I believe it had, I can't remember what the exact, it had like 4 or 5 straight episodes that were 9.5 or higher rating on IMDb, which had never been done for any TV show ever. So just critical acclaim, bringing that. Rogue One, I mean, like you said, it's viewed as one of the best Star Wars stories that's ever been told. And it's kind of crazy that it is, because there's, other than the final scene, there's no lightsabers, there's no, I mean, it's not the typical Star Wars thing. And I think that's why it works so well. Also, the creator of the show, he wanted it to feel as real as possible, so that's why there's not a lot of like fan service on Andor, which I think actually helps it, because it kind of, I think Star Wars fans were expecting that, and then to not have that, but have like a really strong story, and just, a strong 2-season series that kind of just encapsulates the love for Rogue One, the love for Star Wars universe for the going forward. I think it was really awesome. So bringing Diego Luna back, and like he crushed it. But yeah, the critical acclaim for the show, and just the fact that it did so well is also, I can't remember what the total budget was for both seasons, but I do know it's the most expensive thing they've ever spent for anything Star Wars, really. I think it was in the like 700 million range. So for both seasons, which is, it's a very high number, but I mean, you can see it paid off, because like everyone loves Andor. I have a good pal back in Colorado who a huge Star Wars fan, but when the first season came out, it took me a little while to watch it, and he just could not stop texting me. He was like, "Dude, Andor's so good, it's so good." And I finally sat down and watched it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it's pretty incredible." So, I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I look forward to seeing hopefully more. I don't know if they'll delve into anything else in that kind of time period of that for Star Wars, but even if they don't, it stands alone as pretty awesome, especially as a partner with Rogue One. So I think it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Chris, how about you, bud?
I remember after watching Rogue One, I'd said that was probably one of the best Star Wars movies that had ever come out. And then when Andor got released, one of my buddies who I work with had watched it, and it also like POPpaGoss, it also took me like a little bit to get on it as well, because whenever like stuff comes out and then they bring out like the before of how that movie is supposed to be, I'm always a little hesitant. Well, it's because we know how this is gonna end, so is the origin gonna be good, or is it just gonna be one of those things where they just make it and it's just, this is just before it, and then we already know how it ends. But like how Scott was saying, like for them to have already released Rogue One and then them do Andor and have it be such a great origin story, and it just keeps expanding and piggybacking off of one another to just continue into a good thing. I felt like when I was watching the show, there was no really moments where I was like, this show like is boring, the show isn't good. Like everything had a role. And like how you were saying too, like how seeing all like the people come from like the animated shows and reprise their roles like in live action is always like such a great surreal feeling. So it's like we know these characters and we watch and essentially grew up with them, and just seeing them have the continuation off is always good. But like everything played a part in continuation of like episode and episode. And I think that's one of the things that I loved about the storytelling, is because it didn't go from one episode to like filler. Like the next episode after wasn't like just some random piece that had nothing to do with how it was going to end in like the next episode, or the end in season 1 or in season 2. So I definitely think, and like how Podcast was saying, like it was definitely one of the highest rated, like they did 4 episodes, like 9.5 back to back. One of the highest rating TV shows like just ever in general. And I think it was just a great show. Like I don't think there's anything that I would fix or like change or put input on. I think it was just overall beautiful. And the budget was definitely budgeting, because there was some stuff there was some stuff throughout that show where I was like, that looked expensive.
Right, right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I love the season 1 was really grounded, was following Cassian, it's showing his mom, it's showing that he's off planet, he's got to get back, and then his mom is resisting the Empire, all of that stuff, and then it gets real when his mom is killed. The funeral of his mother, showing the hologram of her calling the entire system to resist, was just powerful. I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. And then to kind of continue that on into season 2, and the incredible acting from Denise Go and Kyle Soller as this kind of pair of Empire people that are so in support of Empire and trying to make a name for themselves. In that is just a great story. And Mendelsohn coming back as Krennic was really cool. I was really glad that he was able to be in the series. He is an incredible actor and just played that role perfectly. We saw him going toe to toe, at least with words, with Darth Vader in Rogue One. So that was fun to see him come back. And I think I mentioned this on that episode, Scott. But if you like to read and have not read The Catalyst, it is the
it's
Rogue
sitting
One.
right on top of that shelf. I have not fully gotten into it yet.
The Rogue One, it's a Rogue One prequel novel that follows Krennic and Mads Mikkelsen's character. What is
Galen
it?
Erso.
Galen Erso, thank you. And their kind of rise and what caused Galen to leave, and when we pick up in Rogue One. So it's all of that kind of those more that level of the story. Really, really solid. And I think just looking at the cast, Adria Arjona, Faye Marseille, which we've seen in Game of Thrones. I already mentioned Dennis Go, Diogo Luna, Stellan Skarsgård, Kyle Soller, Fiona Shaw played his mom. We get Andy Serkis in season 1. We get Benjamin Bratt. I mean, it's just Forrest Whitaker as Saw Gerrera. Just the cast is just ridiculously good. Another situation where we get Mon Mothma. that gets to come back. She actually did some scenes for one of the movies, I believe, but they didn't show it. It got cut in the prequels, and so she got to come back and play her in the series. So same actress. I think I saw that in the behind the scenes. So that was cool. Alan Tudyk also, POPpaGoss. Alan Tudyk playing the voice, and I think actually did some mocap for the robot
K2SO.
2SO.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. Again, it felt like, of course, it was also the same director as the Rogue One. The director came back too. Tony Gilroy came back and directed. Actually, he didn't direct all of Rogue One. He helped with the story.
Yeah, Gareth Edwards was the main
directed it. That's
director.
right.
Yeah.
But Tony Gilroy came back as one of the contributors and to direct the series, and just phenomenal. I would say it's the most heady of the Star Wars series. It's a lot of spy work, it's a lot of intrigue, it's a lot of espionage, which is the same as spy. But anyway, it's a lot of that's a little bit slower moving in the first season. So it's got some meat to the bone, that takes some work to get through, but it's 100% completely worth it. The other thing I wanted to say about this is season 2 of Andor. When I finally got to watching it, I sat down. I think I watched the last 3 episodes back to back in one sitting. I then immediately put on Rogue One and watched that, and then I immediately put on episode 4 and watched that, because it's just the piggybacking off of the next
Yeah.
the next episode is just, it was so perfect. I could not stop. Like, it was just, and I think that goes back to how good Andor was, that made me want to see that story and not stop finishing it, because it was such an amazing story. So good stuff. Anything else about Andor?
No, it's awesome.
Yeah, go watch it if you haven't.
Go watch Andor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Pretty
worth it.
epic.
It's worth it. All right, last 2 things we're not going to say much about, except that they exist, and that is Skeleton Crew. Stars Jude Law, and a bunch of kids. I told the guys before we started that it feels a little bit like Goonies in the Star Wars universe, Goonies or E.T. or some of those types of movies where they go on an adventure as kids, and they survive it, whatever. It's got some good acting moments. So it's also got Urkel in it as a little cameo, the guy that played Urkel. That does bring me mention, who's the guy that did the guy from the prequels, Misa not like
Ahmad Best.
Ahmad Best. He came
Yeah.
back for one of the series. Was it Acolyte? Did he play a Jedi in Acolyte, I think?
Pretty sure.
One of the
Yeah.
flashback scenes, he got a chance to come back. So that does bring us to the other one that I was going to mention just briefly, is Acolyte, which follows twins separated at birth. They're both on the opposite sides of this conflict, and there's this other Jedi force that feels like it's a very dark character, that's trying to, that we never actually fully. I guess we see there's a battle at one point, but it wasn't very well received by audiences, and I don't think by the folks on this podcast either.
It's
but
a
I'll open
show.
it up. Any thoughts on Skeleton Crew or Acolyte?
They're shows.
I can appreciate the expanding on Star Wars. I mean, really, this is one of the things that I know I said in our Star Wars movie episode, is the fact that everything has to take place within the 50 years of the 9 movies. And I wish that they could expand on things outside of that. And then they do expand on it, and I don't like it. So I haven't seen Skeleton Crew, so but it's still within the same timeline. And if we're gonna have new characters and new stories, I feel like there's just so much more that they could do with it than just, there's a hidden Sith Lord somewhere. Like there's the rule of 2. yes, the galaxy's a big place. You could have a third one somewhere else that's starting to do their own thing with the intent of taking over from the other two. But that's what everything like that's what it feels everything is. Oh, there's this other bad guy. Okay, well, this other bad guy hasn't risen to power yet, but at some point he's going to try. And I feel like we could just have a different bad guy, a bigger bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean I did remember watching through this, and Manny Jacinto played Kamir, which was the stranger or the master that we saw. That was the battle that we did see, was his character. Really cool character design though, like looked really awesome. But the rumor is that the glimpse that we see in the cave was heavily implied to be Darth Plagueis, which means that this story is ahead of the prequel series. So, but
I have
I
the
don't know.
wiki page pulled up. I'm looking for the BBY.
Yeah, but
But
we it's one of those things where if we don't get a season 2, we'll never be able to explore if that was Darth Plagueis or not. But yeah. So, Josh, any thoughts on either of those series? Did you get a chance to see those at all?
Misa no likey. No, no, I'm gonna be honest. I haven't seen either
Yeah.
show. I've talked to some friends who are big Star Wars fans, and some of them liked certain aspects of the Acolyte. They thought there was some cool stuff in there that they could have flushed out. But overall, the consensus seems to be it's not great. And they didn't even pick it up for a season 2. So, I think they had good intentions. I just think it was not executed well at all from the sounds of it. Um, but yeah, and then Skeleton Crew is on my list. I have so much else to watch that I haven't sat down to watch it. But I think I will enjoy Skeleton Crew more than the Acolyte when I do watch it. Only because I just think it's more of like a fun show that you
Adventure,
can
yeah.
just kind of enjoy. Yeah. But yeah, I'll probably sit down and watch at least the first episode of the Acolyte eventually. It's not high on my list right now. So
I did misspeak earlier when I talked about the twins being separated at birth. They weren't separated at birth. They were separated when they were young girls, and one of them thought the other one had been killed, and so they left then for dead. And then it ends up being that they're not. But yeah, I mean it's I think they also dealt with the Night Sisters in that one. Is that like the origins of the Night Sisters? I don't know. It was some sort of their mom was in some sort of like coven, it felt like, of
Group
women.
cult type of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
yeah.
I wasn't
So
too sure about that either. One of the things that like I've also read like some of like Star Wars like novels and comics in lore and stuff, and there was one thing with Acolyte, I think there was like a couple fight scenes that I thought were like pretty cool, but like unfortunately that's not going to make up for the lack of storytelling that's going on. And then there was one scene where one of the sisters like bled her kyber crystal, like it went from blue to red, like it literally
yeah,
just took over. And I know in lore that is supposed to be said as like an excruciating process because there's just so much that goes into it. Like you're supposed to like take it out, like hold it in your hand and essentially like just break it. And I remember when she did that, I was like, time out. I remember I went on I literally paused the show and I went on my phone. I was like, isn't this supposed to be? And I looked it up. I was like, yeah. I'm like, I don't know. But I think I seen some guy online like debunk it, but I was like, I feel like her getting mad at a situation is not enough to turn her blue saber red. You know, I'm not the author, I'm not the director. So, you know, whatever they say goes, but that was definitely one thing I had. I was like, I feel like that's just not feasible.
sure. Scott, any more to add?
So looking at the wiki page for both, the Acolyte takes place in 132 BBY. So 100 years before the Phantom Menace. or 110 years before the Phantom Menace. So that definitely could be Darth Plagueis at the end. So if it does have a tie-in, a loose tie-in, I probably will see it at some point. Skeleton Crew takes place 9
Quick.
AB. Oh,
Real quick, sorry, just a refresher. The Battle of Yavin was the
New Hope.
New Hope,
Yeah.
not Phantom Menace. So you said Phantom Menace.
132 years before A New Hope would be 110 years before Phantom Menace.
Gotcha. Good call then. You're smart.
That's why we brought you on.
Skeleton Crew takes place 9 ABY. So it is around the same time as Empire Strikes Back. Josh, you touched on like the directors for The Mandalorian. Bryce Dallas Howard directed at least one episode of Skeleton Crew. And the creator, writer, and director, he's tagged in all three of them. Chris, this is mainly for you, I guess, is John Watts, the same guy who made Spider-Man Homecoming.
Wow. Nice.
So, he's a creator, a writer, a director, and an executive producer.
He turned down Fantastic Four to do Skeleton Crew. He was originally supposed to direct Fantastic Four, and then he was like, I'm going to go do Star Wars instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Pretty crazy. Well, Pete.
Well,
I think it might be worth a watch.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a try. It just, I'm gonna give it like another try. I think I made it through like an episode, to be honest.
Yeah. And I will say that I did have some trepidation at first, and then I finished the series, and I felt like it was a fun ride. So, might be worth your time.
The last sentence in the first paragraph does also say this series is heavily influenced by the 1985 adventure film The Goonies.
Nailed it.
I like that. I liked that movie. So
yeah,
knowing that now, I might need to give it a watch
for sure.
Cool. All right, guys. Thank you so much, Scott and Chris, for being on these 2 episodes. It has been so fun to converse about these things with you. And audience, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And I will tell you that Chris is going to be back specifically for our Spider-Man episode in July. So if you like this episode, be sure to keep an eye out for that. Scott, thanks again. We'll catch you guys later. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to jump over to our website, moviesthatmakeyoupodcast.com, to see all of our links. Follow us on Instagram so you never miss an episode, a live stream, or an interview. And until next time, keep watching movies.